This is Talking Business.
I'm joined now by Sam Trattles, who's the founder and owner of a business called The Other Side of the Table, and Sam is a professional negotiator. G'day, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Alan. Thanks so much for having me.
What does it mean to be a professional negotiator? That's really fantastic. What a great thing to do.
Oh, thank you. It means I get to do what I love. I've been privileged in my career to do a lot of things in the marketing realm, and I learnt on the job how to be a negotiator, so now I get to share that with other people. I work with brands and individuals on helping them to have a system and process to understand that it doesn't have to be a scary thing.
So do you teach people how to negotiate, or do you do it for them? Do they hire you to go in to and be on the other side of the table yourself?
I do both, in fact. I share my knowledge through training, but I also help brands and individuals by through strategy. So if there's a big deal on the table, then someone like me can come in and help the preparation phase and then through into the negotiation. And through that process, we do it collaboratively, so people can learn on the job, so help upskill the team whilst going through the negotiation at the same time. It's best, I find, to deal with live deals so that it embeds the learning.
Right. So part of your background that led to this was being a police negotiator, which obviously I've only seen on TV, and it seems to be quite stressful to do that.
Yeah, it can be at times. I've actually done a part of the training, so I've not acted as a police negotiator. For my personal growth, I wanted to learn what's the difference. So I've done commercial deals, and then just to expand my knowledge to see how you more the personal side of things, the psychology of it is really helpful.
I love one of the things you say, which is a lot of people don't realise the only thing standing in between them and what they want is the willingness to ask for it in the right way. So perhaps you'd explain to us, Sam, what is the right way to ask for something?
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't learn this skill at school, and we very rarely get to practice it. So we find when we start talking about negotiation, automatically a lot of us will put a guard up. So the first thing I say to people is just actually call it something else. A negotiation is either a conversation or a series of conversations to talk about what you want, and ideally to get part of what you want or get what you want. So I say to people who currently hate negotiating, try with little things. So it can be just trying to find your voice. So a lot of people would never ever dream of having a complicated coffee order. So, can I get a bit of extra chocolate on my coffee? Or if it's a salad, can I have the salad dressing on the side? So these things are little and don't seem to be a negotiation. But for those people who really hate it, it's about practicing to find their voice. So that's how I think that people, as a starting point, can get the confidence to start negotiating.
And your voice is what? Just the way that you particularly ask for things, is that right?
It can be. It can be just actually asking for it. Even in a family situation, we might not be the one who says, "Oh, I want to go to movie X." So it's about finding our voice. Excuse me. It's about stepping into it rather than stepping back. So the voice is one part of it, but also your preparation. So knowing what's going to happen on the other side. So we never know how things will go, but if we actually don't even put the time in to think through how might this go, what might someone say, and then what might I say next, that will help, again, make the situation feel a bit more normal.
Do you mean that thinking through those things can give you more courage to ask for it?
Absolutely. We all get nervous when something really matters to us. So if we don't spend the time before we go into the room, then we haven't actually brainstormed or practiced with somebody else. Oh, if they say this, what would I say in response to that? So even when I go into a shop that says that they negotiate for cash on the door, I'll often think about, okay, well, if they say, I'm going to ask for X, and if they say yes, no, or maybe, then I'll say, okay, no, okay, well, thank you very much. I just had to ask. If they say maybe, it's like, okay, well, let's go and have a look. Often those companies have to go to the computer and have a little look at how much margin they have. So, and if they say yes, they go, great, thanks very much. So don't undo. Often what happens is some people will dabble a little bit. They'll try and ask for something and then apologise or recoil and say, oh, sorry, because we have this uncomfortable relationship with money often, so we don't know how to actually ask for something without sort of negotiating with ourselves in a sense.
Yes, right. I mean, so I think most people's big negotiations in their life, possibly only negotiations, is for a job, a car and a house. Are they all the same? I mean, should you approach each of those things the same, or do you need to be different? Do you need to adapt and change the way you negotiate according to what it is that you're negotiating for?
It's a good question. I think that we negotiate every day. We don't even realise that we're doing it often. So our approach to it depends on how big a deal it is. For me, I've created a 4-stage process for good negotiations, and for me, it's about acceptance is the first stage, and you look at am I
acceptance of what?
Acceptance of self, actually. So if you don't like negotiating, accepting that you will participate in a negotiation, actually just telling yourself, I'm going to do this. And those of us who are avoiding a particular negotiation, then we say to ourselves, I'm going to actually do that negotiation today to get it done.
Right. That's number one. What's number two?
The prepare phase, which is the most important and the most time-consuming of the stages. So in prepare, we actually go through the process of thinking through what do I want, and if it's something like a pay rise or a deal, why am I entitled to that? What are the fact points? So in the book, I've actually got a cheat sheet that helps people through this process. So what are the supporting points that help me build my case so the other person understands my point of view? So in the prepare phase, we do all of this thinking, and then if they say this is what I'll do. And we actually practice it with other people who, can help us. If they know the person that we're negotiating with, then they can say, well, that person's a finance person, so they'll want to know the numbers. That person is a details person, so where is the detail that supports that piece of information there?
Number three,
then we go into the actual deal. So engaging in the deal. So this is where for a lot of us, it's the most emotional part, the most heightened part, and the most stressful part of it. But through the process of prepare, then you will actually be calm when you walk into the room, because you can take your cheat sheet with you, and then you can actually put your case forward. So it depends on the situation, whether you're going to lead the negotiation or let the other person lead the negotiations. That's your decision to make. And then when it is your time to lay it out, then you actually put your case forward and talk about it. So in that, what we're trying to achieve here is understand how you see this deal and how I see this deal. So I'm not a big fan of win-win, but I think the process is to get a fair and reasonable outcome from the deal. So why aren't you
a fan of win-win?
Well, I'm not sure we win. So, do I actually come out of it winning? I often have to compromise on what I actually want. If I was to win, to me, it might mean that I get everything I want. But if I go in there and explain to you why I think it's worth this, and you tell me your case, and I might actually go, you know what, actually, I'll bend on that point, and then actually through a process of seeking fair and reasonable exchange in value rather than a win-win, then actually in the long run, we both get what we want, because we get to achieve what we want, and we probably need to work together in the future as well. So a win-win can...
Well, I'd call that a win-win.
Okay.
I suppose.
It is in the long run, but I think it's about our brains and how we can manage the thought of winning and losing. So our brain doesn't really like that. We think if the fight or flight response kicks in, and so our body sort of prepares itself for a fight. And a lot of people think that negotiations are fights. They're not. It's a conversation, and I need to listen to you. I have to listen a lot more than I talk in a negotiation.
How should you conduct yourself in the actual negotiation?
I think it depends on your personality, and in a corporate negotiation, there's often people playing different roles. It could be bad cop, good cop. It could be the person who, from a legal perspective, they have a different view of things than a commercial person. And then, for us, what the media team needs. So everybody has their role to play. So for me, I'm always wanting to come away from it thinking, right, if my best friend was sitting next to me, or my daughter or my father was sitting next to me, they'd be proud of me. And I conducted myself in a way that actually was very articulate and calm.
And what's number 4?
Number 4 is closing. So in Australia, with our laissez-faire attitude, we often will even just go to meetings and come away having not really closed it. So once we agree, then be clear about, okay, so what this means is that you're going to do these 3 things and I'm going to do these 5 things, and we're going to do it by this date and on this time. The other side to a close is when we don't reach an agreement, then how do I conduct myself in that situation? And that's the most stressful. So when I don't get what I want, how do I deal with that? So back to your cheat sheet from the prepare phase, and that's where you write down, if I don't get what I want, I will say these words. And they might be things like, I'm a little bit disappointed and possibly emotional at the moment, so can I come back to you on Tuesday and pick up this conversation then? So you get out of that room as fast as possible, and then make that appointment to come back on Tuesday and pick up the conversation and say, well, where to from here?
And you forgot number 5, which is to head to the pub for a stiff drink or a champagne.
That's right. Exactamundo.
And I should actually mention, I don't think I mentioned your book at the start, but you've got a book called I Love Negotiating, but the word love is written over the word hate being crossed out.
That's right.
And I think that's probably right. Most people hate negotiating, don't they? And what you've done, I think, is told people how to love it.
Thanks, Alan. Yes, I've heard so many people tell me how much they hate negotiating, and I do love it, and I think that we can embrace it. Again, we haven't been taught it, so how can we love it until we know how to go through the stages and start to practice and get really good memories, because a lot of us hate it because we've tried it a little bit and had a bad result. So through the book, people they understand what type of negotiator they are through doing a questionnaire, and then the rest of the book goes through the 4 stages, and it's color-coded to their negotiator profile. So no matter how confident you are at the moment, then the book will help you through a different series of activities that will build your confidence. So you have new memories and great things to draw on to say, oh no, I've got this. I can actually do this because I tried this once in the book, and now here's a real live new situation, and I know what to do.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. This has been one of the more useful interviews on Talking Business. It's been great talking to you. Thanks.
Oh, lovely. Thanks, Alan, so much.
I've been talking to Sam Trattles, who's the founder and owner of The Other Side of the Table and the author of I Love Negotiating.